everybody. Welcome to my favorite shitty movie. This is really a show that could never end if we don't want it to, because look at the options that are out there. Speaking of options of shitty films, tonight we are here to talk about the 1975 Clint Eastwood directed and starred vehicle, the Eiger Sanction. If you're a Gen Xer, the odds are really good you grew up with the dad who loved Clint Eastwood, and maybe mothers did too. Mine didn't, but that doesn't matter. And so dad would screen a lot of Clint Eastwood films for me growing up. And I remembered seeing this. It was, I think, something that dad may have purloined, as they used to say, on Betamax from an early version of HBO. And so it would kind of come up. And I think the last time I saw it, I was like in grade school. It might have been 4th or 5th grade. And I promise you, my 4th or 5th grade self did not catch half the things we're going to talk about tonight in this show. This is one of those films that, again, as good Gen Xers, we really don't pearl clutch very much, but there's no other kind way to introduce this film without saying it's just super offensive. It's hard to say if it's more racist than it is homophobic, than it is misogynistic. It's kind of the holy trinity, which might make it ripe for a MAGA reboot at the new version of Paramount/Skydance. Follow this page for more. It's unbelievable watching this through modern eyes. What this is based on a novel. Trevanian is the author's name. I think he kind of helps to make James Patterson seem a little Christopher Marlowe-esque in his shaping of things. Clint Eastwood is in peak Clint mode. He's starting to show a little bit of age. He's wearing glasses because he pretends to be an art professor for part of the film, but he's really a killer. Because if you're going to be Clint Eastwood, what better cover than teaching at, I don't know, a college of higher learning about art? Just let that sink in. Yeah. So that's the cover. We have a villain who is described as an albino named Dragon. We have a female lead that, of course, he has to bed because Charlton Heston made it look so good in a Mega Man year before. Her name's Jemima. There's a gay gentleman. Actually, there's 2 gay gentlemen who get beaten up by Clint because that's what he does. I can't even say the dog's name out loud. I'll let the gentleman do that. Oh my God, y'all. It's a joyous, it's just, you have to see it to believe it. In 1975, this was all seen as appropriate. I can't wait to talk about it. There's so much to unpack. I can usually punch up. I'm going to be really honest. This is a really terrible film. And I think it's great that we're here to talk about it tonight because it really says a lot about, I think, where we were, and I fear where we may be going. But at least it's really slow and badly paced. So without further ado, I want to bring up my co-captain in Mayhem. We know him as Todd Anderson. Tonight he is playing the role of Todd Bowman. Up into this amazing exploration of Clint Eastwood 1975 style.
Hi, I'm Todd Bowman.
Oh my God.
That's George Kennedy's last name in this.
George Kennedy is my favorite thing about this movie. I think he understands the assignment. I am Buns Mercer because there was a blonde lady who's falling out of her American flag bikini named Buns. That was
yeah.
Yeah.
You reminded me, I gotta say to the audience, look, the dog's name is a British word for either a bundle of sticks or a small ship or a cigarette. It's that word.
Or it's 2 gay men who are like, this is my dog that starts with an F. And then Buns goes, he's so cute, because that's fine.
It's okay that they call their dog that because they're gay, right?
Yeah. Well, we know that because they have to be beaten up and they wear jewelry.
Yeah. This movie is
so
deeply special. Here's my a Blu-ray copy of it right here. The poster, just awful. It's awful.
I love the poster. I think it speaks to the film. I think yeah.
I love mountaineering movies. I own most of them from history. This is like Eastwood was in the 70s and 80s. He was always trying to get his own James Bond franchise off the ground.
He sure was.
And this was his like American James Bond, License to Kill, working for various shady government entities and all that. But the way he uses this like James Bond-esque vehicle to just make his casual bigotry hilarious. Check out these gay jokes and these, like, every woman that he beds in this movie for the most part are women of color who he manages to make horrible racist jokes about and still go to bed with
to their faces.
Yeah. It's just it's so weird. It really feels like this is Eastwood's own personal pornographic fantasy that he's pushing upon those of us who might expect a piece of entertainment from him.
Well, it's also weird. Interesting because to your point, like it's like unmentionable. It should be unmentionable today. Jeff Luce, Cliff Peak with Bronco Billy. That's a Citizen Kane. You know what? I like that. That's a great film.
It's a good movie. Yeah.
One of the things I think is so funny about this movie, though, is that you're right. It is very Bond-like. He's an agent who gets pulled in, but he doesn't want to be in. And there's a duality going on with this character. I'll save it for when Mark comes up. But one of the things I just wanted to highlight, the two women he does sleep with, because it's not enough to sleep with one woman. You have to sleep with two. You know, just but the one that he says no to is this very sexy blonde who looks a hell of a lot like his ex-wife in the Sandra Locke of the era. Not to say that,
yeah, sure,
but it's
that's like his type. Yeah.
That's his type. And I mean, it's so funny where it's like every woman in this movie, whether he's a professor or years before Indiana Jones, is throwing them, oh, he's so hot, he's so great, he can climb me any day. And I'm like, I just like, what's really cool about William Holden in Sunset Boulevard? He just gets out of the pool and he's like, hey, Norma. And I'm like, hot. There doesn't have to be an explanation. I don't need many women throwing themselves at William Holden. I get it because he just owns the screen. And here I felt a little bit like the Clint doth protest so much. It's like, if you're hot, we don't need all of this.
I'm proving to you that I'm hot. It's also interesting that part of his pornographic fantasy, which I think this movie very much is, involved not saying yes to his type. It's psychologically fascinating.
I love this myth. I mean, maybe I'm a late bloomer, but I mean, maybe everyone just wants to take their clothes off at a national park and show their breasts to get Clint Eastwood to follow them up. I mean, maybe that's what most women experience. I haven't. I've never been like, geez, you know what really helped? If I just went topless right now. It's like, if people are just throwing themselves out.
But I mean, I guess like in Clint Eastwood's world, because he was a star at the time, maybe that's what was happening, and that's how he was relating to women. It's entire. There's so many right-wing women, Tracy, unfortunately, who will absolutely fit the bill of a right-wing man's pornographic fantasy of a woman, because shit, that's easy.
Well, I want all those over 50 something, kind of mushy white ladies hanging out at Mar-a-Lago. He's just not that into you. I hate to break it to you. He's just not that into you. Yeah. Without further ado, we need to bring up our guest, who's amazing. He saved us when I was away. He saves us when, Todd's away. He's one of our favorite guests, but also an amazing co-host many a time on my favorite shitty movie. He's a comic book creator. He's a writer. He's a producer. If you haven't already, I don't know what you're waiting for, but you guys should be totally listening to Hindsight. Get it where all you get your podcasts. Where you're listening to us, just click over. Listen right away. Fabulous. He's amazing. He's a great storyteller. We're happy to have him. And oh my God, he brought this film to us. Welcome back to the program, Mark Haynes. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. And I, it's a dubious honor, to be sure, having brought this movie to you.
I out of the gate, I want to hear your viewing history with this movie when you first saw it, because I know exactly how I first saw it, and I want to know how close those experiences are. How did this happen for you?
I saw this movie the first time I saw this movie. Gosh, it was on one of these free premium cable weekends that they would do.
Wait, in what era of cable?
It was like
early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
To get you to subscribe to the network, they would give you like a week of free HBO or a week of free.
And it was like there was just this movie was on. It was like a Clint Eastwood kind of mini film festival things. They had all the Dirty Harry movies. They had this movie. They had Play Misty for Me, and so it was just like kind of this, Clint Eastwood's everywhere on television that weekend. And I was thinking as I was listening to your introduction that every time I watch this movie, I like it less. I mean, it really is kind of like. I mean, I get angry as a writer because, like, when you're pitching a story or somebody's giving you notes on your script, they're like, well, this part doesn't make sense. And I see all of these movies where I don't think any of that ever happened, at any point. And certainly at some point, and certainly when this movie was being made years past, the output of the studios was substantially higher. So there was just shit coming out, it's like, well, let that one go. It's like the chocolates going past Lucy and Ethel in the factory, to get by.
Yeah, I think that happened here in the script phase.
I mean, and this movie, it is trope-tastic in how it's like somebody had a checklist of every offensive cliche and statement that you could make, and it'd be like,
so weird.
And it's like there was the script supervisor. And then there was the shit supervisor, it was just like, yeah, we got everything.
It's so weird. I'm like watching it now.
It's like I like it less, but I still like it.
Yeah.
No, it's still kind of weirdly fun, but like you're right. The movie, like, despite itself, by about the halfway point, just basically becomes about its bigotry.
It feels like it's not about anything, and it's like if you took like a porn movie and replaced all the porn with bigoted, sexist, misogynistic jokes. Like here's a little bit of plot, and then racist statement, racist, and the person receiving it is just like, and occasionally I have to revise my history a little bit with this movie. Why I saw this movie. It wasn't early 2000s. It was probably, I want to say 2014, 2015. So it was recent. And the reason that I stopped is because the opening sequence takes place on the Lamont River in Zurich. And this guy's having a beer at a restaurant. It's under the opening credits, a couple big clock towers in the background. And for a short time during that period, in the mid 2000s, I worked for a company in Zurich, and I'd been there multiple times. And so I recognized this location. I've had a beer in the restaurant where the character was having a beer, and I just started watching it. So I just like, oh, I didn't even know it was a Clint Eastwood movie until it said Malpaso on it, and then, it was down the rabbit hole. And, it's like, I should have been warned when the first character we meet is a character named Henri Bach, who gets this whole thing going. Because he finds a piece of microfilm in a Bazooka Joe comic, and it's like, I should have been tipped off because the guy he got the bazooka gum from on a bridge in Switzerland looked like he was insane, and I'm just like, and he's looking at him like, this has microfilm in it, and and it's really downhill from there.
Well, it's funny too because it's like this is a movie where it's a lot of men walking around. Sometimes they hike on a mountain, but they're just walking around without much going on in between the bigotry and casual racism and homophobia, walking around. But my favorite is that, you've got this guy, who's, okay, I got the microfiche. And then, of course, someone comes in, slits his throat. By the way, this is like, there's no blood, but his throat has been literally garroted by a knife. And I was like, I was like, Eastwood usually gets violence right, and I'm just like, this is an inauspicious beginning to a spy movie where you can slice someone's throat open. And you're like, it's like a special.
We'll get into some problems that I have with Eastwood, the elite assassin who drops his gun the first time he fucking pulls it out.
But so we start with the cover. it's established very quickly in an early scene that Eastwood is like maybe the last class of a semester. It's kind of all over. So if it's the last class, Department of Art, Dr. Jonathan Hemlock, History of Art, you wouldn't have a standee after an entire quarter or semester.
You wouldn't have a standee like that unless this was the Batman TV show.
Yeah, no, it's exactly.
Like this.
It's that.
I agree, and I actually think he is a professor. The assassin is the part-time gig.
But the problem is, and this is like not to be too whatever, because everyone has their own feelings. You know, I've been fortunate enough I made a film that Clint Eastwood directed.
And I will say that I generally like his movies, like later movies. Like I really enjoyed Play Misty for me. It's like
that's his first film as a director.
The fact that he's demonstrated he can do it, and then this thing is in the middle of all of that.
Well, that's like when we talked about like our premiere show, the lost episode of my favorite shitty movie. You know, we did Megaforce, and that's the part where you realize it was produced by Al Reddy. But Al Reddy had already done Godfather 1 and 2, and then a couple years later, it's like Megaforce. You know, after that, like, so you never know. So like Clint is kind of that era too. But I feel like one of the things I think that makes Clint, I mean, obviously the spaghetti westerns, and he was Rowdy Haynes on Rawhide, and he's a man's man, he's Dirty Harry, and all these kinds of things. What I don't ever get from Clint in real life or on film is believing him as like this erudite, sophisticated art expert who teaches. I'm like, that's not a thing that I look to him for. But then if he's that person, then he's not drinking wild turkey. So which is it? Is he this effete, sophisticated intellectual who cares about art?
Or his cover. He's a homophobic, racist.
The history of this movie, apparently, an initial version of this project, the role was offered to Paul Newman.
Oh.
You know.
Yeah, and Paul Newman would have not had any of that shit in it.
No,
it probably would have been a better.
He would have sold the art professor portion of it.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure.
You know? So,
but
I just like to interject because you guys are talking like, you know, Eastwood just had some sallow periods. I think if you look through his entire filmography, it's mostly garbage. And every one of his 18 movies he made a year for a long time would be actually good. And I think for the most part, that's his career. As a filmmaker, he's got some absolutely great classic movies. He's got a few mediocre ones. He's got a lot of really bad movies. I mean, I'll point you to, you know, Blood Work and Pink Cadillac, and, you know, I could go on. And even in the era of the 70s, you know, yeah, you were getting cool stuff like Play Misty for Me, but you were getting the Eiger Sanction. You were getting the Dirty Harry sequel.
The Wikipedia entry on this movie has apparently been modified by a Malpaso production intern of some sort, because it very much talks about how he was reluctant and he didn't like the script and he did all these other kinds of things. And he was like, I mean, if you read kind of the notes of what occurred during the production and how this whole thing got started, you're kind of like, he just wanted to climb a mountain and have somebody else pay for it.
Yeah.
We should also.
And we're going to film it while we do it. And one of the crew died.
I was going to say
during this.
Before we go into, have fun, we should pay respect, because what I think this film has a lot of problems, which I'm sure we'll get into. What the biggest problem for me is that the climax is supposed to be, you know, we're climbing, you know, Eiger Mountain. That's a thing. We've established that Clint Eastwood is not only just an effete art school enthusiast who steals famous paintings to hide them in his basement as opposed to sharing them with the world, which we can get into that level.
Well, he's saving them to share with someone named Jemima.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. But it's like all of this stuff is happening, and it's like the climax of this film is the least interesting mountain film like I've ever seen in the history of anything. And so it's super boring, and you have to put yourself back into the mindset of back then. You would have had to have a helicopter. You couldn't have a drone shot. It was really expensive. I think it's fair to say, and no shade, because I think John Woo did it better, but Woo and Cruise in Mission Impossible 2 knew this film. there are Eiger sanctioned shots it figured prominently in the Mission Impossible 2 trailer where Tom's hanging off, and you can see there's a little bit of that. But what's interesting about Clint is that, you know, as you know him from the Westerns, right? So, you know, you think about, you know, all the Western work that he did, but there's a whole portion of this film where it looks like Monument Valley, which is where John Ford shot a lot of classic westerns. It's where Thelma and
It is
Louise,
Monument Valley. It is
right?
Monument.
They would drive around. Ridley Scott's like, oh, let's put the girls in Butch and Sundance and Thelma and Louise in Monument Valley. So here is Clint Eastwood quoting John Ford in a western, even though he's a western guy, but in this kind of 75 modern context. So all of that is servicing, but it's really silly. But the problem is as I would argue, as boring as the actual mountain climbing is in this climax of this film, they shot that early. And so apparently one of the guys who doubled for the actors playing the guys who were, he did fall and he died and fell to his death violently. And apparently Eastwood was so disturbed because literally someone died on his set as a director. The reason this has been not talked about widely is probably because of the power of Clint. It wasn't Clint's fault. This isn't a John Landis situation on the Twilight Zone. But when you are a hiker, you take that chance. And apparently Clint wanted to shut down because he was so legitimately disturbed by the death, as one would. And the other hikers who were doubling for the actors said, well, if you do that, then this guy really died for nothing. You've got to finish this. And so apparently Eastwood, even though he has no problem throwing out homophobic, racist, and misogynistic lines left and right, apparently as a person and a director was very disturbed for the entire production of this because, of course, someone lost their life on his set. And so we should put everything we're going to talk about through the lens of that.
And the other substantial injuries. And the interesting part about this, in the order of shooting, all of the Switzerland scenes, including the opening and the mountain climbing, were all done before all the Monument Valley stuff was done.
Right.
So It's like, it's kind of an interesting situation. I mean, you're talking about the cinematographer ending up with a crushed pelvis and being in a wheelchair for quite some time for having been in an accident on the mountain, and and Eastwood insisting on doing his own climbing. And I maybe that's him. I don't know, but I think he was
grand.
Go ahead.
And Clint really wants you to see that he's doing his own stunts.
Yeah,
I mean, he's shooting himself because he wants you to see, that he's doing all this.
Although in this particular shot, he was deposited there
by a helicopter. But
that's fine. That's still scary. Helicopters are scary.
Well, the interesting part about this is a formation called the Totem Pole, and I believe it is in the Navajo Nation.
Perfect.
And the production had to negotiate for permission to film here and to do these climbing scenes. And part of what they did, and see, this is the other thing. It's like all of this shitty dialogue about Native Americans and women and people of color that occurs in this movie is occurring on the same production in which the production negotiates to film here. And the only cost they have to film there is to remove all of the mountain climbing equipment that had been left behind by previous climbers. And the Navajo Nation says, if you clean it up, go right ahead.
Well, and also just to build on what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's weird. Like, it's just weird.
There's unfortunate lines of dialogue where Clint Eastwood is making Marlon Brando jokes. So if you were an audience in 1975, you would recall that when Brando didn't pick up his Oscar for The Godfather, he famously set up Shasheen Littlefeather, who has now been proven to be not an indigenous person, so it was a fraud. But the joke that he's making about Marlon Brando is a reference to that. But the joke is also, here he is shooting on Navajo land, making these sexist jokes about an actual woman, an indigenous woman, but at least he's employing a real indigenous woman as opposed to Brando, who sent a fake, indigenous person to pick up his Oscar. So it's like Justin Humphreys, who he could be here tonight, would have been, who did the commentary on the Blu-ray, was like, isn't that funny? Because again, there should be shades of gray between Brando and
I have to go dig out this disc now that I found that out during the text exchange we had earlier. I was just like, oh my God.
It was like, dude, Justin was like, oh my God. He's like, he hated the book. In fact, he gave me some quotes. He said Travania made it to be a parody of an espionage novel, but what it really was condescending. And he said that before Clint came on board, that this guy was really supposed to be highfalutin and that it was elegant, and that they kind of like did this redneck thing to appeal to Clint's.
Hemlock, the character of Hemlock, you mean?
Yeah, the character of Hemlock was kind of pared down, so that's why he's clashing with, I drink kind of shitty, whiskey, but I'm an effete art collector, like this kind of stuff that like a normal writer would actually make sense of.
And interestingly enough, you were talking about the blonde who looked some kind of a Sandra Lockish type.
Absolutely.
Blonde. The other woman that he kind of denies is the blonde student in his class who
Yes.
also Clint only goes for Jemima. Yeah, only goes for Jemima, the one girl in the middle here with the pen.
And,
in her.
but
he does take a moment to slap the underage woman's ass
Oh, yes,
on
on
the
the
way
tree.
out after he's told her to go home
Well,
and study.
she may not be underage. This might be a regular college instead of a community college, but we don't know that.
Whatever.
we don't
The
know.
person who is just not someone a professor should sleep with, who is his student, he slaps her on the ass. He still slaps
And
her on
the
the
look
ass.
of everybody in the background is we are getting paid for this, right?
Oh, I know. It's like, it's seriously. But what's hilarious though is this scene. If you're a Gen Xer, you realize like Brett Raiders comes out in 81. So like, about 5 or 6 years later, Harrison Ford, who actually I would argue is super charming, he plays the same thing. He's the professor who cares about things that are historic and wears glasses. And then there's the hot blonde going, I love you. I love you.
And he doesn't know how to handle it.
He doesn't know how to handle it. He's like, whereas Eastwood has this lascivious, yeah, that's right. And then they actually do a scene with these two where one of them actually does like the Sharon Stone crossing and uncrossing of legs. And it's a directorial and editorial choice to have him look where he looks and do. I'm like, you are so canceled and such a pig of the First Order in the scene. And I'm like, this is like, but this was seen as masculine and great. And I'm like, you would just be so out of a job.
Well, he was checking out the panties, but
Yeah.
ultimately he told the panties to go home. So
Yeah.
he's okay.
I feel like that large.
Because everybody wants to throw themselves. I mean, young girls really want middle-aged Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
They
Want the dance.
They want that's like that was pre-dad bod era, but whatever. The thing is, it's interesting about this. This it just okay. Here's the film, and then there's the socio-political environment of this film, and it's like, is this movie entertaining? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
It might be entertaining. It might be entertaining to people in this industry who are like, how the F did this even get made?
I think you're gonna remake this with like Glenn Powell. I think like
also
it's gonna come back.
Also, if you can watch a movie like this with jaded eyes and not sensitive reactionary eyes,
sure,
it is sort of fucking entertaining how offensive it is. Like in the most off the cuff way. Isn't it hilarious that we're doing these jokes?
Well, we've all watched movies. We've all watched movies where there's a setup and there's a scene. And this guy is meant to be some type of a badass, but comes off as just like a complete fuck up. And he's supposed to be the number 2 guy at this agency.
Yeah. He's like an Eastwood player. He's a wonderful actor. He's like in everything, but he's always like there to be the patsy.
That is the actor's name is Gregory Walcott, and he plays a character named Pope. And he tries to do, everybody's got these little bits of business that they try to do. Like he has this kind of tick that he does, and he's racist. He's kind of Southern, which is like, okay, on point. But no.
No, we're not.
There's nothing I can say about that.
We're not doing broad sweeping generalizations because they're based on perhaps evidence. That's not what's happening right now. On
How
Tracy,
I will
have the pizarra on Friday, $10,000 to you. Like, but I love, again, it's like he's supposed to be teaching at like a college. And
nothing in this movie connects to anything else that happens.
No, but he never misses an opportunity to be an asshole. There's no other way to say it. So like when he gets the call to go back inside, right, the spy out from the cold going in, he makes a lot of kind of like suggesting this woman isn't super attractive jokes, and they're played for cheap laughs. Then you've got this guy who's here, and he's like, I'm here to talk to the albino, and you're like, why was there, like, I think of the albino like Whitey Jackson in like Foul Play, I think
yeah.
What was going on in the 70s where we had albino freaking villains? Like, why are we? And also, he's not just an albino, but I have friends that suffer from that and were born with that and that are amazing human beings. They don't have this thing where I can't go out in the sun and I can't be on the light. But
they're kind of suggesting that he's a vampire.
Yeah, they think he's a vampire, but you have this odd lighting where it's like the albino can't be in direct light. He has like the globe behind him in red. Clint is like, I don't know, in the phantom zone from Krypton or something with his shot, and he's talking to this, but this is how we established the albino. And it just feels like this is this guy's office. Like we're shooting through red Miami Vice, but like 6-7 years earlier. Like
one thing I do love about the introduction of this character into the movie at this time, I was like, oh, he also hates white people.
Yes.
So I was like, that's refreshing.
Does he hate white people, or does he hate white people, or does he hate government bureaucrats?
He hates white people if they're too white.
You can't
if they've gone too white. He probably wanted to make the character a ginger, but that was too controversial.
It was too radical for a second. So very quickly,
they couldn't find a ginger that could pull that role off. At that time,
William Atherton could have done that very well.
No shit, yeah.
3 years. I was like, he was doing Day of the Locust when Clint was doing this movie. So let's put that in context. So we have 75 is a good year for everybody, right, Jaws? Anyway, so we're in this setup where we're supposed to believe that he can pass as Clint can pass as an art professor expert. We understand that he was a spy. He took his spy salary to buy art where he doesn't want to share with anybody else, and he wants to
black market.
Yes. He's Thomas Crown, helping Thomas Crown. And so then he gets called in, and they say, "Here's the thing: the dude whose throat, when he was slit, didn't bleed. He was a friend of yours. Trust us, he was. It's fine. And you should avenge his death." Because maybe the people that killed him have this thing, and microfiche is real, and it doesn't matter what the plot is, but do the thing. And he's like, "Well, now that he's killed my friend, I got it." And so then Clint comes back in, right, to do this thing. And what's the first thing he does? Anyone want to set up this scene?
Yes, this is he's taken the assignment, and the assignment is to sanction the two men who killed his friend from his military days, predating the film. And he's there to sanction them. And the first thing that he does is this affectation of the gay delivery guy.
And why is the delivery guy gay?
There's absolutely no reason for him to be.
Because it's hilarious to see Clint Eastwood do a gay stereotype. It's
hilarious.
I have quite a few gay male friends, and none of them talk like this guy. Like,
no.
Hello, this is Clint. I have
at this time, all the gay guys Clint Eastwood knew, and he knew a lot. They were all like this.
Now, to be fair,
they often worked his favorite massage parlors.
Later in the film, we do meet Miles Mello, played by Jack Cassidy, who pulls off a threatening, I don't want to say non-stereotypical, but he's rather flamboyant, but he's threatening. He has the military background, and
he named his dog that word that means a bundle. It
starts with an F and ends with a couple T's. Here's the thing that's funny about this, though. It's like he looks like he's escaped from like a mariachi band a little bit to me, but I said that he's buttoned his blouse and he's got jewelry. He looks like kind of a demonic, like Mr. Tate from Bewitched a little bit.
Well, the fact that his presence in this film is an unnecessary complication and is completely restricted to Act 2 is kind of like, I feel like Jack Cassidy had some deal with Warner Brothers that I would get a certain number of movies per year. And they're like, go be in this Clint Eastwood movie.
It's awesome. I don't want to get too far ahead. We'll get back to that because it's kind of great. So Clint thinks it's fun to do like a gay caricature. Here's what I would say though about Clint, because I think like everybody, he's more complicated than his worst movies. This is one of them. But there's a movie that I really actually legitimately like. I know it's flawed, and don't come at me because I get it, but I think it's really entertaining.
Oh, I'll come at you. What are you talking about?
He did it in the middle of his string of Dirty Harry movies. So a lot of people think it's a Dirty Harry movie. It's not. Tightrope.
So Tightrope, yeah.
So Tightrope.
That's a good thriller, but it is like rough to get through because
here's why I bring it up
against women.
Yeah. But actually, there's something weird about what's going on in that movie that's interesting for Clint. is that here he is doing Dirty Harry, hey, lucky punk, how many shots I fire, hey, make my day, all this Reagan era shit. But then he does Tightrope, I think around 83. It's not Dirty Harry, but the poster looks like a Dirty Harry film with the thing. Genevieve Bujold shows up, and it's about S&M and kink. And so the setup really quickly for Tightrope, for those who may not remember, is that he's not Dirty Callahan, but he's a detective. He's a cop. He's in the French Quarter. He likes women to tie him up. He likes to be the bottom. He likes to be like experimenting with S&M. And then there's a serial killer that's kind of trafficking and said sex kink. And so he gets on the ruse. Maybe I can go undercover. Maybe I can figure this out. Genevieve Bujold, who anytime she shows up, it's going to be interesting and better than it needs to be because she's fabulous. And he has kind of a relationship with her, but he likes to be tied up and he likes it a little rough. And there's an amazing scene. No one believes me, but watch it if you haven't, where Clint in that movie, Tightrope, is trying to find the killer who's killing all these people in the S&M world. And he goes to a gay bar, very obvious gay bar, as opposed to the homophobia of this movie. He sits down looking, whatever, really attractive younger gay guy comes up to him and goes, hey, sugar, whatever. He goes, hey, it's like, and the gay guy goes, don't blow me off. Don't knock it until you tried it. And Clint Eastwood on camera looks at the gay guy and goes, what makes you think I haven't? And he walks off. I'm like, whoa! This is why it's like not legit Dirty Harry, but he goes there where women are topping him. He's like, yeah, whatever, maybe gay sex. But that's like 8 years from this movie.
Easily his most relatable character to the comic.
Exactly. But so there's this weird thing with his on-screen persona about how he plays these things. And so he goes to, we set up this is his entree into, getting into an apartment. Then you have the iconic, shot, he's shooting through people. My favorite, the empty chair, which would be a precursor to
this is foreshadowing the Republican National Convention.
Like, you should vote for Mitt Romney because Obama's not here. And I was like, that metaphor was awkward, but.
Well, okay, hold this picture for a second. See this? Yeah. There's on the shelf behind him, there's an orange plastic bag.
Yes.
And for some reason, the gun that he was using in the previous photo was in that bag the entire time. Why it was not like in his belt or in any other type of situation. I mean, there's just a lot of weird effing choices in this movie as you really are watching everything that happens.
It's true. And Jeff Luce, for those listening, not watching, actually has a really great comment. He's like, this movie that we're here to talk about, right? Eiger Sanction. Jeff's saying, look, man, it takes everything that was great about the Hepburn Grant movie Charade and does the exact opposite, but like makes it even worse somehow. And I think that is very astute. But
that's sort of what's great about watching it as a shitty movie.
Yes,
is you're watching a filmmaker, and an icon dig a hole,
and
put himself in it.
Throughout the cast and the crew, you're watching an incredibly talented team make a new pile of shit.
Some of it, like there's like one of the.
And I love this movie. I say that loving.
No, and I think one of the most positive things about this movie is, despite the fact that they're within action sequences that don't work as a whole in the movie. Sort of like the biplane sequence in the last Mission Impossible movie, even though like it doesn't work as a sequence, if you can discern the shots that are amazing, or just shots of like George Kennedy and some poor woman in front of like a mountain range, there's some amazing photography in this movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's one of the reasons that.
And there's also, but again, this.
If anything elevates this movie at all, it's the director of photography.
Well, I've actually seen the Eiger in person, and it's like this movie captures that. And it's like all the reviews of the era, the one note that they all had positively was that it's gorgeous. There's many sections of it that are just fantastic looking, but then you start listening and you're like, what?
I don't know. It could have been the version I was able to stream, but I actually don't think it's a very good looking movie. I think anytime you're inside, it's clunky and dark and badly lit.
Interiors are. I'm just talking about the mountain photography.
The nature stuff is good.
But I'm just saying, when we're outside, it's great. But I think the disparity of how like badly it looks when you're interior, and then how much better it is when you're outside. Again, but like Clint is directing this, so he gets to take a lot more blame than that. But when you're like, I am a rock, I am a mountain, these kinds of hero shots that are designed, he's already a tall man. He doesn't need to be shot from, beneath. But like, this is a hero shot. He learned from Leone. He learned from Don Siegel. This is what we did in old Hollywood. So he's taking, these shots and he's doing it to himself. So there's a little bit of especially, I'm just my 2 cents. If you're going to be the writer, or not the writer, but if you're going to be the director, producer, and star of this, and you continually shoot yourself like this with every woman who's cast throwing themselves at you, this is you working out stuff with a studio budget. And it's like, what is up with that? Because it's like, he's a good looking man. He shouldn't have to work that hard. But I just feel like it's an interesting thing. And when we go back to, like, again, you've got this character, and then this is where Buns comes in, with the dog covering up not buns, but boobs. And Clint always has this thing where he's like, I'm going to hit the gay guy, but the way he frames hitting him, this is also a choice. Like, he lingers on this shot of his crotch with a fist, having hit this obviously gay guy, and it's like,
again, I go back to this is
screen testing. Screen testing is every which way but loose wardrobe.
Yeah, but also it's
it wasn't good then. It's not good now. It dates years from now.
But also I go back to this is his pornographic fantasy, and his pornographic fantasy would necessarily have this moment in it where he might get head from a guy. I'm just saying, you don't make this many homophobic jokes and have a dog with that name unless kinda you wanna. I mean, be?
It's a weird thing, because I was trying to imagine, just as a producer, like watching Clint. They wouldn't have had a video village then, but he would have looked at the frame and go, "Yeah, I think my crotch should be here." And I think by the way, I don't know when you guys hit people. I've only been in 2 bar fights. Secret. I don't keep my fist down. Like, this is completely, but the placement is a choice. And if you are this super masculine 1975 macho guy and you choose to frame this scene this way, I found it interesting.
Yes.
I think you're right. I think it's a scene about a guy who's excited to watch another guy go down on him, and his fist and arm represent his penis in this sequence.
And not to just, kick a dead horse. Mark is like, you said penis.
I didn't get it. The dog's name is Faggot. Since we said penis, in the script,
It's really weird. And Mark, you set this up earlier, which let's get back to the narrative. Like, this guy shows up, he's kind of daunting or whatever, and you're like, okay, but then Eastwood kills the guy's bodybuilder, maybe significant other partner is undetermined, but it seems like Clint literally beats up that guy too, and he makes a point of saying, I don't like you on my flank. You scare me. I don't want you behind me. And I was like, wow, whoa, dude. Whoa.
And narratively, as far as the film goes, we have this scene where he's the gay delivery guy. He manages to sanction the 2 guys that he was sent to Switzerland to kill. Drops his gun, and it's like very awkward, like, because he's supposed to be the elite assassin, and he's like, it's a completely fucked up scenario. Anyway, comes back, and this is where he reveals he wants his money, and he wants a letter from Dragon that his art collection is legitimately paid for, because
he doesn't have to pay taxes.
Right. This is all to avoid taxes. This entire movie is a tax avoidance scheme.
Exactly. You're like, wait a minute, we're talking about
the studio too.
Dragon, aka the albino. He sends these hey, Hemlock, no identification yet. We'll keep you advised. Dragon. And you're like, I'm gonna guess if you're a secret agent, maybe you don't sign it Dragon. I mean, like, what is this?
Well, it's clearly a code name.
I was like, and the fact that Clint has manicured nails, I'm just saying, awesome. So you take the guy after you have the crotch shot punch. He takes him and he drives him around for no apparent reason to leave him in the middle of nowhere.
But even before that, to get to this location,
Yeah.
We find out that okay, that it was Henri Bach was the victim in the opening sequence, which triggered this sanction. But now there's another situation that they need him to handle. And in order to do it, they steal his art collection and the letter he gets exempting him from taxes on his collection. And of course, he's the only one who can do it because he not only is an art professor, an elite assassin, he's also an expert mountain climber. Because it's the 1970s, as you are, as a man of Clint's stature,
Yes.
you have all of these capabilities.
You would totally do that, but also Dragon doesn't quite trust him. So set up
Yes.
Prima.
So Dragon, of course, not expecting that Hemlock is going to fall in with his plan, sets up this character on the left whose name in the film is Jemima Brown. And, wonderfully, I mean, the actors are all trying like crazy to pull this thing off. And, this is Vonetta McGee, who was all throughout the 70s in some fantastic films. And of course, she's there to seduce him, get him into bed, steal his collection, and thereby extort him into accepting this assignment.
Wait, put a pin in that, because Mark, you and I were texting when I was watching this, and I was like, and you're like, I had to rewind it twice. So when she's about to bed him, because this is what we did, fireplaces or whatever.
Yes.
Clint Eastwood twice makes a certain, what does he say to her as she's yeah.
Oh, I don't. No, you go ahead, because I actually was reading your text when this went by, because I was watching it too.
So he doesn't know that she's been sent there by Dragon. He assumes she's just this really hot woman, because every woman throws themselves in there.
Susceptible to his layered haircut.
He brings her home, and she sees that he has an art collection or whatever, and they're literally, to be indelicate, about to mount him. And she's like, is there something that you're not telling me? Is there something that you're, he's like, well, I promised to stop raping people. And you're like, whoa! And she's like, and then they have sex. And that he makes a rape joke, and then they go into sex.
It's the first of two rape jokes that happen in the movie. The latter one has to do with the dog that's named after the
rape plus bestiality, says the guy. Yeah. So really,
Tracy, just so you know, we have about 10 minutes to get through the rest of the narrative.
All right. Okay. So he's like, okay, I'm in. We're going to do this. Then Clint realizes she just seduced him and used him. He feels used, but not really. Then he meets, of course, our favorite, good old George Kennedy. And we love George Kennedy. Yes. This is all happening. And this is the aforementioned. This is when, again, Clint is the director. This is something you could easily leave on the cutting room floor. But instead, we have a close-up of him patting a woman's ass. And then this shot where he's constantly just oogling women in this movie. And I'm like, what? Dude, it's beneath you. Like, you should be, but
he's proving something.
This was the era of the Farrah Fawcett nipple poster.
Oh my God, 100%. But like, really, like the fact that he has to cut away and show this, whatever. So then we go back, and so then
I feel like incels watch this movie and be like, "Yeah, man, this is the way it needs to be."
So let's talk about this awesome setup, because there's
in the background is George, the character named George, who is the person who will be putting Clint Eastwood through his paces. Clint Eastwood ended up at this resort, which the last time he was there was a climbing school run by his friend George Kennedy. And and so now, but it has turned into apparently a swinging singles bar in the northwestern Arizona.
I mean, I don't hike, so I don't want to speak for female hikers. But I'm pretty sure that you don't pose like this in the wild. But maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe
that woman clearly does.
Yeah, she wear jeans to hike, because that's what you hike in. You wear jeans. So to his credit, she is faster than Clint. She beats him. They kind of have fun with that. And then she decides to take off her top, and he's like, oh, now I can climb up. And then he climbs up, and she's not there. It's like, oh my God, Clint. Anyway, so that happens. So then we cut back to, he's like, okay, now I'm climbing. This is that. And he's like, but now the girl who's training him, because everyone just throws themselves at Clint, They have sex. We're going to find out later it's George Kennedy's daughter, which is sort of awkward and perfect in the same way. I liked this part very much where she was assaulting him after she injected him with drugs, but he's so cool. He was able to survive even though she injected him with morphine. That was another drug subplot we don't get into, and we don't connect it to George Kennedy, but it's all fine. And so then this is the other shot. When Clint is punching this guy, it's at crotch level. When he's pointing a gun at him, which he doesn't use, it's also a little interesting because, again, we have John Ford's Monument Valley. We have the gay gentleman with his lover dead at the wheel. And then we have Clint deciding to shoot a shot or film a shotgun leveled at certain levels because that was apparently seen as a good choice directorially. Again, he puts himself against John Ford's Monument Valley. Iconically, I guess. He's quickly introduced to a group of people he's going to go hike with. We know that somebody who's on this hiking mission on Eiger Mountain is probably Bad News Bears. He's trying to figure out who they are. These are two of our principals. A guy on the left, spoiler alert, probably not going to make it through. The aforementioned Sandra Locke double. Yes, I'm a rock, I'm an island. He beats up his best friend, been in a lot of things. Yes, again, another blonde throwing themselves at him. He has no time. And then all of a sudden, Jemima says, wait a second, what's going on up at that mountain? What are you talking about? And then you realize, Mark, break it down for us. What was Dragon really doing?
Dragon, well, that's you set it up, and I lost the plot while I was listening to your recitation there. So basically, I think, at this point, Pope reveals to Jemima that this entire thing is a charade.
Right.
He's not up there for any particular reason. And pick it up for me, Tracy, because so
basically you're like, this whole thing is a stooge. They're like the microfiche in the beginning was supposed to be like, this is information about some kind of virus.
Yes, biological warfare.
The biological warfare was bullshit. The whole thing was you plant that so they think it's real, but it really won't hurt people. There's an informational expositional scene where Clint Eastwood was like, there's no difference between the government and this and that. Everyone's bad. Everyone's the same. It's the two sidisms, right? Yeah. That already starting. And so he's like, yeah, everyone's corrupt. And so he tells the white guy tells the black lady, Jemima, everybody's corrupt. And I don't know why you're working for, the albino, guy, because he's bad. And then that turns out to be true. Albino guy was right. Oh, there's Buggeroo.
And then after all of that you just said,
yeah,
they finally get to mountaineering. There's finally mountain climbing.
Finally, and then we get these setups where, and again, sadly, this is where we lost somebody's life. But this is the vista. This is where they're shooting. If you look to the far right, you see somebody climbing up. I mean, it's an absolutely. I mean, I do want to give credit. Like this shot is, this is epic. I mean, this could.
There's some very cool stuff. But what's interesting is that you point out there is the scene where Pope is kind of breaking it down there for Jemima. Mm-hmm. It's like once you get over to the mountaineering scenes, it's really just a climbing movie because there's no jeopardy left. Like none of the people in that group
except people falling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
But you know what, Mark? It's important to keep in mind that while all this mountaineering is happening, George Kennedy's character is watching it through a telescope and telling people how harrowing it is. And I happen to have a clip of George Kennedy talking to a woman who questions him during his.
Fabulous!
Oh, please!
Here you go. What I love about this is it's like really good, solid comedy, and it doesn't punch down. Pliskin, watch this.
Tell me, Mr. Batten, in your opinion, do these men climb to prove their manhood, or is it more a matter of compensating for inferiority feelings?
Lady, why don't you go get yourself screwed?
It'll do you a world of good.
The best.
By the way, that was one of Justin's favorite lines, that if he were going to join us, he would have been like, what in the hell is happening? But that is really good example of the dialogue you could expect from.
It's so that scene is so stupid.
It's
I
so
know it's short, but I was like, this is the Anderson family reenactment because it's so offensive.
But we should also add that the idea is that someone on this hiking trip might be bad news bears, and the falsity of sending Eastwood up there to figure out which one is a bad actor, so to speak, to put this together. And the whole thing is like actually not a thing, right? And we lose people. So you've got like these incredible sequences, but then when Clint falls, he just happens to fall exactly on that huge mountain we just showed you, where there's a little door frame where Clint can again show how brave he is because he's hanging out in real life.
He has to cut the rope.
Because George Kennedy, his friend, is like, let me help you. But the truth is, we've been told, almost like Kaiser Soze with a limp, and then he doesn't like have to limp, a little bit like somebody who's limping is going to be the problem. So I would argue in a world where someone who's limping is a problem, and then you have the albino, there's an ableist action to this. So there's Anta is like, he hates people with disabilities. He hates women. He hates people. It's like, oh my God, there's something for everyone. If you're a maggot, you love this film.
Yeah, this is
on everybody. But it's just one of those things where you're like,
and you're woke if you don't like this movie, you're too woke.
You're woke, yeah.
Stop it. Stop being woke.
But so that's wrapping it up really quickly. So he figures out that he was played. He's like, I told you, Jemima, you can't trust the white guy. It's all good, but I got my Pizarro, so that's good. And then you have this shot, which is also crazily reminiscent of Casino Royale, where our James Bond, after having said bodily parts really adjusted by Javier Bardem, is being, helped out at the end of that movie where he's trying to be in recovery. I'm like, God, Clint did this shit in like the Eiger Sanction. So there's sequences in this movie that people have plucked and made better. It's if you're a Clint fan, I think it's one of his worst films, and I say that lovingly because that's what the show's about. It is completely dated. At the same time,
I wanted to ask you guys both this question, going off of what you're saying right now, Tracy. Is this better or worse as a movie than Firefox?
Oh, Firefox, I love.
Yeah.
No, but do you love? I mean, why do you love that? Like, because it doesn't have the offensive stuff in it.
No, I just think it's so silly.
Because it does have offensive stuff in it. But.
No, of course it's Clint. So I always,
but it's PG Clint, so it's minimal offensive stuff.
No, I'm the Gen X girl that loved Blue Thunder and Firefox. I didn't choose between them. I let Roy Scheider, Clint Eastwood. I'm here for you guys in your little helicopters.
Blue Thunder is in my top 5 favorite films, and it is so bonkers. Primarily, there's the multiple reasons, but one of which is the fact that less than a block from here, there used to be an amazing drive-in theater, and now there's a fucking Wendy's. Okay, so this Tiny Nailers was on the corner of La Brea and Sunset. At some point in the past when this was a cool area of the city, and it's not now.
Yeah,
and not because I live here, but Buck makes it cool.
Buck makes it cool.
But yeah, I do have to say with this movie, it really was like there wasn't really a climax. And the fact that George Kennedy, didn't limp until it was important. Like there's a scene where when he picks him up from this kind of dusty airstrip out there in Monument Valley, they walk past the swimming pool and he's not limping. Maybe it's the temperature. Maybe he doesn't limp until
there's that ham-fisted. Yeah, I hurt myself in the cold. It's very hard, and you're like, yeah.
I do like the fact that he's pissed at everything in this movie, because it's like that makes him the point of view character.
I do too, and I would be remiss because Justin wanted me to mention this on the show.
Yeah.
George Kennedy has this line where he's like, "Hey, it's as dead as Kelsey's nuts," and you're like,
yes.
Like what the fuck is that? So Kelsey, apparently back it was like Kelsey's they were in 1910 connected with Ford, so problematic. So it's perfect for Clint. Apparently Kelsey's did all the nuts and the screws, and so they were the safest creators of like wheels and
like nuts and bolts kind of.
nuts and bolts of a car that Ford used. Because if it was a Kelsey nut, it was tight and you were safe, but it was also used as a colloquialism of somebody who's a little like, uptight and perfect, and a little can't. And so the idea, it's as dead as that. That's the past. And so, but the fact that in 1975, that was a really old reference, because like the Kelsey wheel was like peaking in like 1910. It tells you how old the people writing this are. And that Kennedy says something. It sounds a little dirty. It sounds a little naughty, but that like he can do this. And we love George Kennedy for all the reasons, but one of our favorites, and we've mentioned this on the show before, the great Airport series, right? It was Airport 75, 77,
Joe
Petroni. He's the only character that gets you through all of the Airport films. So he has that kind
and
of.
he has an amazing career trajectory as someone with completely different jobs within the same industry.
Yes, exactly. He's a mechanic. He's an executive. He's a pilot. You're like,
okay.
You get into the background of this movie and the novel by Trevanian, which was actually one of the credited screenwriters is Rod Whitaker, which is his real name.
Oh.
Who wrote the original version of the screenplay, is like this novel, the novel that this film was based on was a spoof or a parody of Bond era, Bond style espionage novels. And for, there's no indication along the development timeline where somebody said, we're going to take this seriously.
But this is the
right.
Thing. As good Gen Xers, as we wrap this up, because I think this is an interesting point that you just brought up, Mark. So I want to lean into that. So
you mentioned Airport, and like the novel, the Eiger Sanction was considered at the time an airport novel. In the days before, cell phones, you bought a book at the airport for a long flight, and they were generally crap.
Yeah.
But this crap book was optioned by Universal or Warner Brothers, I guess. And anyway, Tracy, go ahead. Sorry.
I totally forgot where I was going, but I had a really good point.
You had a good point. We were talking about the screenwriter Trevanian, and his name was Rod Whitaker. Yeah.
So he wrote the book where it was supposed to be a spoof on the Bond films. Like Bond 1962, Dr. No premieres with Connery on screen. So he's doing a spoof of Bond. But because I think maybe Clint doesn't have a huge sense of humor, I'm just guessing based on his filmography. I don't want to judge the man. I don't know him. But like, I don't think of him as comedy. I mean, I know he did the orangutan films where he hits Ruth Gordon in the face with a pan. Maybe that's funny. But like,
Pink Cadillac and City Heat, my God.
Not funny either. But here's the thing that's really, it's like watching Spielberg do like 1941, and you're like, don't do a comedy, don't do it. So, but I think what's interesting, and I want to bring it back to the Gen X of the thing, is that I would argue there is a filmmaker who at a certain time in the 90s was like, Bond is over and aging, and we haven't done it really well in a while, so it's okay to mock Bond. Good old Jim Cameron goes, I'm going to do True Lies, which is a remake of a French film. People tend to forget that. He remade a French film where he sent up Bond, because who's the anti-effete, intellectual, sleek, can wear a suit? Schwarzenegger. And so True Lies was basically lambasting Bond. It was an anti-Bond film. If you go back and watch the interviews when that film came out, that's what exactly they were playing, and it worked to a degree. But here's the thing: Cameron was trying to debunk Bond with True Lies, huge success. Yay, Jamie Lee Curtis for the win, always. And then Clint was trying to do that, but I think because he doesn't have humor, perhaps as a persona, and because that was lacking from the script, if you had a little bit of a fun punch-up writer leaning into the comedy of this, as inappropriate as it was, I think it would have been more effective. True Lies, I'm not going to die on the hill for that. That has terrible stereotypes and is racist too. However, it was the 90s version of setting up Bond. Clint did the same thing with Eiger Sanction in 70s setting up a Bond. And that's why if you wanted to do a good New Beverly screening of Eiger Sanction with True Lies and actually talk about this, that's a hot double feature.
Well, and part of it too, hang on, Buck. He wants his dinner.
I get it. Oh my God.
I want my dinner too. God damn it.
I will say,
give me more dinner.
Eiger Sanction came out between, if I'm not mistaken, The Man with the Golden Gun and The Spy Who Loved Me.
Correct.
We're the two on either side of that.
That's right.
And this is kind of peak Roger Moore. We haven't gotten to
View to a Kill.
well, not a View to a Kill, but like whoa. He just laid down on the keyboard. So am I still on?
You're on.
We're
You're
walking
good.
all over the keyboard right now. There was For Your Eyes Only was like the Bond. Was like the serious Roger Moore.
I like For Your Eyes Only.
I really like that one, but we weren't there yet. We were kind of at the beginning. Like Roger Moore's cheesy. For Your Eyes Only, serious. Like Moore can pull off Bond, and then we go into what leads up to A View to a Kill, where it's just like, oh my god, this is ridiculous.
Octopussy.
And so, like, yes, exactly. Like you can't spoof a spoof at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But what's funny is that Eastwood, I think, didn't. If he had a little humor in this film, it would have been good. And also, I'm not.
But that's what he was trying to have in this movie. But it doesn't read as humor now.
But here's
there
the
are
thing.
many. Well, that's it. And there are many films like, Gen X treasures, like The $6 Million Man and The Bionic Woman. That The $6 Million Man is a good example because it's like they've been trying for years to come up with a movie, and they keep going towards this comedy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you need to play that straight. On the other hand, if you were going to redo the Eiger Sanction today, the way you redo the Eiger Sanction is that you lean into the spy parody. It's almost, it's like, it could be a version of Austin Powers, for Christ's sake.
I will say that Melissa McCarthy already made this film, and it was called Spy.
Oh, yeah. That's a very good point. Jason
Statham, in his perhaps finest portrayal as the sex object, the credit sequence where he's in bed with Melissa McCarthy, and she's like, so this is what you could have done? And he's like, you're right. Okay. I was like, yes. Where she completely subverts the spy genre with that, or the spy who bugged me, or whatever. As a Roger Moore.
Aside from the fact that the mid 70s was generally an odd era anyway. I was 5-6 years old, 7 years old at that point. So this movie was not on my radar at any point.
No, I saw it too young, but I promise you, I remember thinking as a kid, I was like, oh, it's Clint. This is boring. I don't like this movie. It doesn't end because it has no climax, to your point, which is why it's like, maybe it's softcore stupid porn. I don't know. But I
saw it at my Uncle Jack's, who lived next to my grandparents. And he had all the Bond movies, so I watched them all. But he also had these odd Eastwood movies like this one in his VHS collection. So I watched them too. I always thought American Bond, Firefox.
I didn't see this movie in its entirety until the mid 2000s. But my first memory of this movie is my mother consistently passing on it when we would go to the video store. Be like, no, like, because she remembered, like, when this movie came out, and was just like, no.
Lucky, because I feel like Dad literally made us watch all of Clint's movies, and I agree. Todd, my partner in crime here, he's not wrong. The thing about Eastwood, which I think we won't be able to say about a lot of people, because the industry doesn't exist the way it did when he came up, is no one can make as many movies as Clint Eastwood has been allowed to make in his career, again, because of all the stuff we know. So it's a little bit like, I love Stanley Kubrick more than most of my female friends do. I can't get it up for Barry Lyndon. Sorry, I keep trying every 3 years. Everything else, yes. But Eastwood is so prolific that by definition, a lot of it won't be great. But he's made great classic films that I really admire. I think he's
he has. Absolutely.
He's an amazing film. So I wanted, for the record, he's an amazing filmmaker. I feel very blessed that I developed a script he came on to. So that's cool. However,
but he's one of the few filmmakers in the history of Hollywood who's been blessed with the ability to throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. And I think more people should get that. That's all I'm saying.
I won't argue that, but I also feel like he's been doing it and he's on a set right now. And he's in his 90s.
What?
Yeah. But
he's like 100 years old, though.
I know, but he still gets to direct. It's not like he's Kimberly Pierce. He has to wait every 10 years to make a film. It's not that. Yeah.
We should do NSEG.
Not the boost. We haven't gone through the things.
Not the boost? What do you want to do? Be bad, be best?
Be best, yeah. because I have
All right.
one that I know is going to trigger my partner, which is why I picked it.
Oh no. Okay, go. Be bad, be best.
Provocateur.
Be bad, be best. I'm gonna let Mark go first because I know that Todd will have opinions that I want to hear. And you may not have been able to see it yet, which is totally fair. But you know how the rules are. You can make up and judge the poster or do whatever if you haven't. Be bad, be best. This is for you, Todd. Weapons.
Oh.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen it yet, but I have heard so many people praising this movie that I need to see it. So, but I can't weigh in yet because I haven't seen it.
Okay, that's
No,
fair.
you have to weigh in. That's the whole point.
No,
You
but
have to judge it without having seen it. That's-
last night.
Are we on? We're on Be Bad, Be Best,
For
right?
those listening,
yeah, is it
see. Wait. For those listening who can't see the poster, last night at 2:17 a.m., every child from Mrs. Grandy's class woke up, got out of bed, went downstairs, opened the front door, walked into the dark, ... and they never came back.
What I will say is this: in 2025, in August, late August of 2025, I understand that feeling.
Oh.
So that makes me somewhat sympathetic to the film.
Okay, so you're gonna go be best?
be best?
I'll go Be Best on the poster.
Okay, Todd, go. I know you want to.
I don't really want to shit on this movie. I don't want to shit on any movie that is an original concept and isn't intellectual property or AI or whatever. I will say that, and I liked Barbarian fine, but I thought Barbarian was a fun, like, campy movie. This is a pretentious movie that goes on too long. It takes too much time before it gets to its horror reveal. Like Barbarian arguably maybe did, but I thought it was so ridiculous it was fine. This movie is a little bit quieter than Barbarian, and its horror twist is not as bananas as Barbarian. So it's such a mediocre thing. I don't want to shit on it. I don't want to say be bad because it's so bad, but I don't want to see it's just mediocrity. It's just okay. It's okay. It's fine.
Are you adding a new option so you could be best?
No, I'm just
be bad or just be.
No, you're right, Mark. You're right. It's a be bad for me because of all the
Fair. I am going to say, if I could add, I would. I'm going to say be best only because I don't disagree with anything that Todd said. But here's what I like about this movie and its success. I am always rooting for original anything to succeed. I felt the first act of this was interminable and slow. I thought it built. I think by the time Amy Madigan shows up as Aunt Gladys, she's an immediate, instant, iconic horror goddess. It will be everybody's Halloween costume this year. It's a performance that if the Academy were not snobs, or if we're in a weak year, you should nominate her for supporting actress. She might win. She's fabulous. We love Amy Madigan. I think this film, if you go in without expectations, which is impossible now because everybody has an opinion and no one can just enjoy a movie anymore, and everyone's like, it made too much or it made not enough. What I would say is go in with, don't read anything, go in, don't whatever. For me, I like writing with mythology. I like to know why. I like to know why now. And I think if you can answer that dramatically, it makes it a classic. I think this is really good if you don't ask or think beyond. But refrigerator blindness, which we used to use in development, which is like, it's like I didn't see that. It's like, don't think too hard because there aren't any answers. And to me, the difference between good and great are those answers. This doesn't have any answers, but it's all style. It's very well made. I think it ends better than it starts. And I'm excited about this young-ish director who has now made Barbarian, which I think is a far better film and more interesting. I didn't think it was campy. I didn't see where that was going. That was a revelation for me. I thought it was interesting. I think he produced Companion, which I also didn't see the twist coming. And I was interested in it. I think this is a filmmaker who has something to say. and I'm excited that this is an early film, and I want to see what comes next. So I'm grading on a curve because at least you have my attention. So I'm going to say be best, but I understand people who are like, what the hell? Because I can't answer any of the questions you have too, and I share them. But it was fun because I went in going,
At best, it's a movie that might be kind of funny, but it's never a movie that's scary, and it's a horror movie, so I don't know how that's not a fail. Here's my Be Bad, Be Best. It's a mountaineering film. It's
oh,
rated PG-13.
oh dear.
It has Robin Tunney, how do you say it?
I think Toonie.
And Tunney, and Bill Paxton.
Oh my God. Flashback. Yeah.
It's called Vertical
God,
Limit.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Also-
Scott Glenn?
Yeah.
And Chris O'Donnell in the lead, and Chris O'Donnell and Robert Tunney's dad is played by that guy who was in Lethal Weapon 3. Yeah, who's awesome. He's got great teeth. He's a British guy. He's got great teeth.
Which is unusual. Mark, be bad, be best.
Well, I've only seen that movie one time, and I'm gonna say be best just because it's like it was just there was that movie was in an era of we're doing this and you're gonna love it. Like everybody was 100% in on that.
Yes,
So I appreciate that from an audience viewpoint where it's like everybody's like, yes, we're getting paid, but god damn it, it doesn't need to make sense. We're gonna do it.
100%. I remember seeing this. It's funny. It was one of the rare good dates I had back in the day. It was really fun. He was obsessed with Bill Paxton. I was too, because I was like, oh my God, like totally game over, man, game over. Like, so anything Bill Paxton was in, I was like, we're going to go see this film. And we had a really good time. We went to Michelli's afterwards. I think it played at, it did. It was at the, wasn't at the Chinese. It was at the, oh my God. What was it called? It was the mall next to it. It was
Next to the Chinese.
Yeah, I saw it was on the other side, and we saw Species there. Anyway, it was a good era. It was a fun night. I have never revisited this film, but I remember a couple set pieces, and I remember thinking this is really fun because we used to have programmers that would come out every week from the studio with like pretty people that we recognized, and it was fun. And I think this film falls into that. I want to say be best because I miss this kind of. I don't want to say programmer in a pejorative way. I just feel like sometimes you need a program to entertain us because the world's ending and we want good movies. And I think this was fun. And my memory was I had so much fun in this movie.
Well, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier about just at one point, the studios were factories and there were going to be like, they're making a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And, it was before everything needed to make $1 billion to make it profitable. I mean, I have a Substack column now called The Story, which it's a ridiculously boring name. That's just what occurred to me while I was doing it. And, at one point I kind of discussed this topic where it's just kind of like the entertainment business is almost like the healthcare business, in that there are so many people with their hands in the flow of cash between the creator and the audience.
Yeah.
It has to make that. They can't make these kind of mid-level movies anymore, and that's a shame. It's just a real shame because
the problem is you can't get people.
There was some good stuff that just slid through the process.
And this is the part where us producers are fighting this.
Yeah.
That we're never going to get back to pre-COVID anything because we have a generation that YouTubes and TikToks, they don't care about film the way we did. They don't have stars, which is not their fault. It's our fault. We haven't done that for them. But it's like, I'm so glad we grew up when we did because I miss Friday night. Like, I'm going to go and see this film and see what happens. Anyway, let's do when...
Yeah. I didn't mean to get on a soapbox there for a second.
When bad films happen to good actors, I'll go first. Mark, you got to weigh in. I thought I would try. My partner is way better on a theme than I am, so he's probably doing mountain shit, and I was like, I should have done that.
I am doing entirely mountain shit.
But I was very angry after I watched this because I was like, why did Clint have to be quite so ugly in this film? My note is, if you want to transcend time, don't be an asshole, because you know what's cool, like hitting gay people and oogling women and making racist comments. That was never easy. It was never. It was easy. It was an easy. It was stupid, and it was bad then. It's terrible now. It'll be worse in the future. So don't do the thing. But this film I picked because I was trying to find some connectivity with Mr. Eastwood. I think it's a really mediocre movie that's saved and only requires to be watched because of the amazing men in the movie. And I do mean men because Clint's not interested in women. Space Cowboys. There's a down satellite. Only old people can do the thing. James Garner, Donald Sutherland, Tommy Lee Jones, and Clint Eastwood. That is a murderer row of very talented, amazing actors.
And you get to see all their naked butts together.
We do, and some of us can't unsee that, and that's fine.
No, I will never unsee that. But
I feel like
it was my privilege.
It doesn't matter what the plot is. It's like there's a down satellite. Only these old guys can make it happen because, and that didn't make sense when it came out. It certainly doesn't make sense now. But the ability to see those guys share a frame, I think, is very special. Especially James Garner, who I think doesn't get enough. He's so incredible.
So this is like Garner's the actor you're talking about.
I think Tommy Lee is great, and I love Donald Sutherland too. And Clint has given good performances. I think all of them are amazing actors who have given classic, iconic performances. The fact that you have all of them again in one movie, if you like film, it's undeniable. And so I think it's a terrible movie. I think it's not memorable.
They deserved a better movie than this.
I think those four men, and there's everybody else in the movie too. But I thought that's an example. And I try to tie it into our theme because Todd does it better than I. Yours, Todd?
Okay, so I'm going a little bit off.
I'm with you, Tracy, by the way, on that.
With this. This is a movie called K2, The Ultimate High.
Yes.
And it stars Michael Biehn and Matt Craven.
That's right.
And it's actually a good, like, I think, made for cable TV movie.
No, it was theater. We saw it in the theater.
Oh, so you saw it. What was the aspect ratio? Do you remember?
I actually was living in London when this came out. I saw it in Leicester Square because I had such a Michael Biehn crush. Because between Terminator, The Abyss, and Aliens, I was like, and the fan, even when he's slicing people up.
Yeah.
So
he was amazing in The Abyss. I thought it was
great in The Abyss. Coffee, seeds, weapons, and Russians. You have to look with better eyes than this.
Slurring speech. Oh my God!
I saw this in Leicester Square opening night in the UK when I was living there. And I'm sorry, I'm cheating because guests should go first, but I'm just gorgeously shot. Michael's beautiful. My memory is I had a great time. I had a good time with this film.
It's a very good movie. I haven't even gotten to why it's on this list. But Mark, do you know this?
I know. I don't believe I've ever seen that movie. I know about it. I've just never seen it. And
okay,
go ahead.
It's really good, and the reason you haven't seen it is it's not easily acquired. This is my DVD copy of it, which is a bad VHS master transfer.
Oh,
so it's like 4:3. It's a mountain movie, and it's in 4:3. So the reason why I'm saying this is a bad, it's really not a bad movie that happened to good actors. It's a bad transfer that's happened to good actors in the good movie that they were in and has not gotten any attention.
I like that you switched that up. That's a twofer.
So it makes me mad.
Good actors. I love that. That's a subset of this section. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I have a very good memory of this film, and it's fun.
I'll say that within the last 3 weeks, at one point, I saw the Keira Knightley version of the Boston Strangler popped up, and
Disney.
I haven't seen it, and everybody says it's great, but I wanted to see the original, so the original was suggested. Yes, Tony Curtis. So I bought the original, and through Apple, it was $4 or whatever, and it pops up, and the aspect ratio is terrible, the transfer is terrible. And I'm like, Apple, I want my $5 back. And they were,
and you can't watch K2 the way I mean, like you watch it on an old VHS tape, and you see the great movie that it is, because it's very entertaining.
Yeah.
But then you're like, I'm lost on these mountain shots. The environmental shots look so shitty. And it's like, they didn't capture that. They captured something better. So
My ex-girlfriend who I lived with from 2013 through 2020, through the beginning of 2020, had an old CRT 27-inch Sony television that weighed about 900 pounds, but it was in the bedroom, had a VHS, a DVD player and everything. And there was at one point, there were certain shows, like I'm a huge X-Files fan. This is before they did any kind of remaster or anything. I had an old set of DVDs, and it's like it just didn't look right unless I watched it on that television.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean about and it's just, you're like, even an up converting DVD to a flat screen TV, it's all ones and zeros, it's all bullshit.
It's funny because Mark, you brought Eiger Sanction to the show tonight, and Clint was like, "I'm a manly man. I'm gonna climb a mountain because that's what men do." But there's a whole subgenre in German cinema, particularly, where they call them the mountain film. So the way that old Hollywood would have talked, there was the woman's picture, there's the horror picture. The Germans were like, there was the mountain film. It was all about climbing mountains. And there's a famous German film called The Blue Light, silent film. There was no stunt coordinators. There was no whatever. But Leni Riefenstahl, before she's been called Hitler's director because she did 3 films. The difference are her films were good. Never was a member of the party, and Nuremberg said, "Yeah, you're good, girl." But complicated because helped sell the myth, the nightmare of Triumph of the Will in 1936, when we should have known better. So she's complicated as a character. But before she was a powerhouse female director, before it was cool, she was one of the top stars of Germany silent film. The Blue Light, if you're a film nerd, is held up as one of the top mountain, because that was a big thing in Germany, mountain climbing food. She did her own stunts, and I was able to see it because I did my thesis on her films because I was interested in what's going on with this lady.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've seen Cliffhanger, which I think is perhaps Rennie Harlin's best film ever, or maybe Stallone's best.
I really enjoyed Cliffhanger.
No, incorrect. His best film is Cutthroat Island.
I love that so much about you, Todd. But if you watch Cliffhanger, if you're a real nerd, the best shots in Cliffhanger, Rennie took from Riefenstahl's Blue Mountain. And so this is this interesting thing where you're just like, but she was doing it with no nets, unlike Stallone, with no help, unlike Stallone. And so there's something, but that was when I was in my film nerd thesis thing. I was watching the Blue Mountain, and I was like, I don't care who this lady is. She's an athlete, but she actress, gorgeous, whatever. But I was like, she's doing shit that Stallone couldn't do 100 years later. And so when I saw, and I remember putting this together because I was writing my thesis about Lenny when I saw K2, just to bring it back to Todd's choice. And I was just like, they're doing Blue Mountain. And I remembered because I had just seen that in the archives and seeing this. And I thought that mountain has influenced people who love film in a significant way that is interesting and worth noting. Sorry, I went on a diatribe. I will do the boost. Did the movie get Oh, that's a good question.
That's a really good question, Jeff. And I would like you to look into that and get back to us. Yeah, let's do the boost.
I promise you, I saw it in London, and it was a big 70mm release.
This is the only podcast that assigns homework to the audience.
Yeah. So the boost, I wanted, because I knew my partner in crime was going to do something cool with mountain shit, and I was like, I don't know. This is a 1988 film directed by Roger Spottiswoode, who started off his career as an editor for a little guy named Sam Peckinpah. So I'll edit The Wild Bunch. He's that guy. But then he turned into a director in his own right. He did one of the Pierce Brosnan Bonds, I think To Die Another Day or whatever. Off there. But the film I wanted to boost tonight because I thought it was an example of a mountain hiking movie that is smart and good and makes sense and has logic. as an opposite to what the Clint film, Shoot to Kill.
Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite movies ever.
It's fucking brilliant. So this is a year and a half after Platoon. So
Yeah.
Tom Berenger gets to star alongside, and he's fabulous in this movie. The great Sidney Poitier, who had been a little dormant in films, came back for this. It was his last gasp of
Before everyone accepted the fact that he's not really functional as an alcoholic.
Well, no, but this is 88. He was good. But he
he was good. I'm not saying he wasn't good.
He was still physically able to do this kind of an action movie.
And and Kirstie Alley and Clancy Brown.
Kirstie Alley, Clancy Brown, but more importantly, the guy who plays the killer from Dirty Harry. So
Andrew Robinson.
So in that, so in Shoot to Kill, the setup is Kirstie Alley is like a tour guide for people who are hiking, and one of the people, like this film, we thought the fake story of Eiger Sanction is someone's a bad actor. They weren't, because it was all bullshit. But in Shoot to Kill, one of them is a bad actor. And the genius of this movie is they cast supporting actors who are on there who've all been serial killers in recent films back then. So anyone watching this film in 87, 88 would have been like, it could be any of them.
Yeah, it was great.
It could be any of those guys or the president of SAG at the time.
Oh, yes, Fran Drescher does slum here.
It's not Fran Drescher. It's the guy with the mustache from The Thing. He was the president of SAG.
They all had a mustache. But this is it's a good, smart movie where Kirstie actually is owning it. But seeing Poitier and that last gasp of, I can do this. And it's really smart. And it's formulaic, which is what Eiger's, why I wanted to end on the boost. If you haven't seen it, I saw it in the theater. Mom took me to see it opening night because Poitier, she would love Poitier.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really blessed, and I don't use that word a lot because I'm not religious, but one of the cool things when I worked for Morgan Freeman was I got to go to a dinner, and I was at a very small table where it was like Morgan, Sidney Poitier, Clint Eastwood. I was there. I was the SAT person that shouldn't have been there, and the answer, some other people, two others. And I was just listening to Sidney and Morgan talk, and Clint was, and I was just like, these are master filmmakers. And I remembered thinking, I'm here to listen. And then Poitier's like, well, I did this one action thing where I was like, Shoot to Kill. And he was like, yeah, I saw that in the theater. Love it. And Morgan's like, I saw it in the theater twice. And Clinton was like, well, I've stolen 2 sequences from, and I was like, so Shoot to Kill brought, it was like that moment. I remember leaving to go home. I go, Mom, you love Poitier. I got to say I like Shoot to Kill because you took me to see it opening. It was like a thing. And there was an honest recognition of those artists. And Sydney's like, yeah, that was good. I'm glad I did that. And it was like this thing where I was like, legends. But
there is a great
Shoot to Kill seems like a programmer by today's standards, except it's better than most films.
Can I tell you my favorite scene in that film?
Bring it.
Yeah.
And it's something that I run into in our industry more than once. Is there's a scene where Tom Berenger finds out, I don't know how he finds out, but that in order to catch up with them, they're going to have to take a less safe route, and it's not one that he feels Poitier will be able to handle because Poitier is slowing him down. And at one point so he has to he talks about going up and over the mountain, and Poitier is not up to that. But at one point Poitier is like, you're not going anywhere without me. That's the deal. And so they have to climb up this kind of what they call a chimney in rock climbing, where there's 2 rock faces that are close enough together where you can kind of shimmy up. And, at one point, Berenger makes his way up to the top, throws a rope down, and, Poitier's like, I can't do it. You gotta help me up. And Poitier ties a rope around, and he holds up his arms. He's like, okay, I'm ready. And Berenger leans over. He's like, well, you got to climb too. And I feel like that happens a lot in our industry where there's like somebody's like, just open the fucking door for me. And then not just open the door for me, but then pave the way. It's like, no, you got to
through the door and walk me to where I need to be.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, I just love that. My favorite scene in the film.
It's
a great scene.
It's so good. What you got?
My boost is a PG-13 movie, and I don't boost
PG-13.
movies
What?
very much.
It's like there's nothing
Some of-
left to believe in. What's happening?
I feel like I'm probably getting this wrong, but I feel like this came out in 2016 and nobody cared. And I think it's actually a really well shot,
So busy
very
hating on the
cool,
competent, qualified candidate. Why would we?
based on a true story mountaineering
Oh,
movie
Yeah.
with Jason Clarke and Josh Brolin and John Hawkes and Robin Wright, and
Look at
Sam
that
Worthington, whatever. But
Yeah, everybody.
I think it's a really good Everest movie. I don't know why people don't like it more or why it's not talked about more, but I would say if you forgot about it, watch it.
Yeah. By the way, that would be a great double feature with Shoot to Kill. We're here.
Yeah, it actually would be.
That's a great double feature, which is why we do this show. Oh my God. I saw that in the theater too.
It was good in the theater. Yeah.
But I feel like, that kind of filmmaking, hard to do right now. But I think really well done. That cast kills it. My memory of that film, I have not revisited it since, but I really remember liking it. Going, God, the scope on this, and I saw it at
It's really good.
Universal at the City Walk or whatever we're calling it, downtown or Los Angeles. But I was like, this film was like scope, and you're right, because it didn't do well, and I was like, but this is really good.
No, and the critics were pretty positive, but not like crazy positive. But as a you can't find a better mountaineering movie than Everest.
That's part of the problem too, is that you get a solid movie like this that just, if it doesn't get that buzz, it's dead regardless of how good it is. It's just terrible. It's really a shame because, again, when you had people that had to go to a Blockbuster or a local video store on Friday night and look at the box art and read the back and figure out what they're going to watch and all the rest of this kind of stuff, it's like there's a process that has been whittled down to the point where it's like, if you don't get somebody, I mean, they say in our industry, for everybody's watching, it's like, if somebody's reading your script, they got to get hooked in the first 10 pages or they're going to throw it to the side. And it's like, you're lucky if it's 10 pages, but you're in a situation now, in a world now where somebody lands on a web page, and if they don't see what they need to see within 10 seconds, they're gone. So it's like, I don't know. I'm about to go off, so I'm going to stop myself because
I don't disagree.
But the fact that we are bringing up films, whether bad films that happen to good actors or things we want to boost thematically tonight, even as we want to boost things on a movie where we're like, oh my God, the fucking hater factor is amazing. But Clint, for all his sins, he is a very talented director, and he understands his star persona in ways that most people can't, and has done amazing work.
He could stand to do more takes. I would say that about Clint Eastwood. His directorial style of
he's in his 90s.
Setting up the shot and getting the first take is not necessarily good.
No, but we're in our 90s and
well, I'm just saying it's fucking
time for that.
He could spend a little money. He could spend some money on some extra.
Oh, he can spend money.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we did that on Invictus.
So before we get into any plugs you guys want to do,
I have a plug.
We'll be back in 2 weeks because next weekend obviously is Labor Day. So
we're going to be laboring because the times.
I will be out of town.
This coming weekend is Labor Day weekend, or next 2 weeks?
No, Friday. Friday begins Labor Day weekend. And I will be fucked off. You won't be able to find me. You will not be able to find me. Be gone.
I will be dealing with a film that I thought I delivered months ago, and a new film that
putting more money on your credit cards. It's ridiculous.
Tracy, I thought of a meme, or I thought of you and your partners earlier when I saw a meme that it said that it's like, I've got called into HR again because I nicknamed my coworker C-section because he's afraid of labor.
Oh,
So I thought you would appreciate that.
I love that so much.
Based
I
on
have
your
a white T-shirt that has blood splattered, and it says "I'm fine." I mean, that's
Ah.
what I'm doing.
All right, I'm gonna sign off on this show. Mark, is there anything you want people to look at that you're?
I'm gonna double check my own Substack address. I believe it is.
By the way, put it in the comments.
Oh, okay.
Put it
it'll
in
be
the
there.
comments. Anything you want people to see.
For long-suffering listeners, the film I made in Belfast last year called World Breaker, Mila Jovovich, Luke Evans, Brad Anderson of The Machinist, and Session 9, we did something that I think feels almost like a modern miracle. We're going to get a theatrical distribution in January.
Nice.
Even though we're original and we're really smart and we're really good, and we don't have, like, I don't know, whoever you think the biggest stars of the moment are, although Mila's for the age, and as is Luke, in a better world, that would be enough, but it's not. So what I like about the fact that we found distribution through a new person in the world. World Breaker will get theatrical. It's really good. I'm really proud of it. I can't wait for y'all to see it. And if you hate it, I'm not opposed to bringing it on this show. And maybe I'll bring on people who made the film, because we're really proud of it and it's really good. But you will see it before we
Mark put his link on the private chat, so I'm just going to go
I couldn't
ahead
get
and-
into the other chat for some reason.
Thank you.
There it is. It's on the public chat.
There it is. Jeff, thank you, Jeff. I know you will be there. You supported Audrey's Children. This is
And having gotten to see some of the preliminary poster art, this is a very exciting.
yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
And when I'm allowed to, I will share our trailer, which is really great. We have an international deal, so I'm feeling extra lucky when I can.
Well, monster movies are back. When this thing comes out.
I hope so.
Hey, if you can get me like a downloadable file that's the entire feature film for me to sell on the dark web, that'd be great. Tracy, I need cash.
Many years ago, Tracy, this is something you actually should consider. Many years ago, I got approached by a comic book publisher who wanted to figure out how many people were illegally sharing PDFs of his comic books that he was publishing, because he wanted to include the illegal download numbers in the advertising circulation to establish the rates. And I was like, not necessarily a bad idea.
Dude, I'm just glad people are going to have a chance to see it in the theaters. I will promote the hell of this. I will annoy you all. I'm really proud of it. I've made a lot of movies that I'm like, that's nice.
You worked very hard on that.
You should be, and people should watch it. I am going to end the show now, though, because I have to go eat. I love you guys.
Mark, thank you for coming back.
My cat's in the other room packing a suitcase because I haven't fed him yet. So
perfect movie to bring, Mark. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks. We're off next week. We'll be back the other week. Watch this page for details. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, everybody. I love these guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. See you guys.
Bye.